It's May 6th at 7:52 p.m. This morning at 5:15 a.m. While I was walking to work, I was chased again. Two men, drunk, again, chased me from the Motel 6 on Broadway, at the corner of Broadway and US 64, to, I believe it's called the Econo Lodge. I was walking down the highway, heading towards US 64. I was in oncoming traffic, and of course I was walking to work again. The two guys came out of a room at the Motel 6, and apparently they saw me, and they started calling for me. I crossed the highway into the following traffic, in an attempt to avoid them. Maybe they would get the idea that I didn't want to talk to them. They followed me across the highway, calling for me. They were very large men, Hispanic. They followed me to the very next hotel. As I was walking down the highway, I called 911 and spoke to the dispatch officer requesting help. I went into the hotel at the corner of US 64 and Broadway. I told the clerk that there were two people following me, that they were yelling obscenities, and they were drunk, and they had been busting beer bottles at the Motel 6. I had heard them bust the bottles as I was passing the Motel 6. The officers told me to wait in the hotel with the clerk until another patrol officer got there. The men, when I went into the hotel, one of them passed in front of the window and stood by the front door. Then he walked back to the window and stood there, staring at me. His friend, whomever it was, apparently stayed on the opposite side of the window, just out of my view. A few minutes later, they both came inside. They started talking to me and to the clerk, asking if I was on the phone with the police. They asked the clerk if he had called the police. Shortly after, a police patrol car passed by in the parking lot. After a few minutes, there were 3 patrol cars, 3 officers. The officer came inside the lobby of the hotel and ordered the 2 men out. Before the officers came, one of the men said that he wanted to have sex with me. He offered oral sex to the clerk. I stayed on the phone with the dispatch officer throughout the time that the men were there. I held a conversation with these men while I was on the phone with the dispatch officer. When the patrol officer finally came in and ordered the two men out, they refused to go. So he pulled out his baton and ordered them out again. They left to speak to the officer outside. I stayed inside the lobby of the hotel with the clerk, crying, shaking, terrified. They said what they wanted to do to me, and I didn't know what to do. Again, I didn't know who to call at 5:15 in the morning on a Sunday morning. So I waited. I asked the patrol officer if the men were gone, if they were going to jail. He said that they can't arrest them on a misdemeanor charge that was not in their presence, which means the two men are still out there. And they're probably still on that same road somewhere. Only now, they're angry because I called the police. I can't walk to work anymore. It's not safe. Not anymore. I don't know what to do. But I know that I'm scared. I know that I don't know what to do next. They started yelling. When they initially followed me, they yelled to me. They called me a faggot. I was dressed in my work uniform. This is how I was dressed. With my hair down or pulled in a ponytail. Just like this. Carrying my lunch bag. This bag over this shoulder, walking just like this. They said, "Hey girl, we just want to talk." But when they came into the hotel, they looked at me and they said, "That's not a girl, that's a boy." And then they told me what they wanted to do to me. The friend, the one that wasn't talking very much, again, was agitated. I don't know what to do anymore. This is the second time that this has happened in 6 days. Obviously, it's not safe here. Not here. Not in this town. Not for a transgender woman. And I don't know what to do anymore.